Okay, so here's the old garden space. It kind of ended up being just kind of a catch-all this year. We ran into a deal on some used timbers that we're planning to make some raised beds out of, and different things. We still got our 5-gallon bucket wicking tubs we never got around to using this year. We did use a couple, and I got a car there I need to work on for a friend. So the old garden space just kind of became a catch-all, and it ran pretty much from just in front of that car back to the shed, and the width of that shed to that garage, which the garage is the neighbor's. So I can't remember, it was 16 by 30, I believe. Okay, we're back. We're out here at the garden. There's our little sign that we had in our garden last year. It hasn't really found a permanent home yet, but it's sitting there, plus with a sunflower we made out of a rotary hoe off of a farmer implement. So kind of adds to it, plus an old watering can. So this is the new garden. It is 25 by 42 at the moment, this being the short end. And this being the long end on one side. I'll just kind of walk around real quick. A little bit of everything. Some things are, it's late in August, so things are starting to show their end of their lifespan. We do have some sunflowers my wife planted, and it's not in the garden but next to it. Some of them are already finished. On the end here, she planted some tubs with flowers, different types. Walking on here, now we're coming to the back side of the garden. And as you can see there, I have some tubs I never did get finished. I didn't get them finished in the spring, so I thought I'd get them finished, put some fall stuff in, and that hasn't happened yet. There's the raised bed I talked about that I started to build, and that's as far as I got. And just a little bit of everything going on here, so we'll get started. Right here on the end, we've got some tubs. These were some tubs from last year, which in the spring we had some radishes, lettuces, spinach in these, and did very well. You can see a volunteer lettuce coming up right there. We did replant, and in these 3 tubs have replanted some lettuce for the fall. I don't know what varieties, I don't remember. And these 3 tubs are just sitting here. This tub here, even though it has a lot of some weeds and grass, those are some green onions. They've got a Japanese name, but I can't pronounce it right now without it in front of me. That we just direct sowed in there, and they've made some really not very many. We didn't get very many out of them, but we've been getting a few green onions, and they're really good. Next door to it there, we had some dill that's done, and that tub was some amaranth, some of that red Chinese spinach amaranth, and some deer tongue lettuce that's gone bolted and gone to seed. And then this is the giant Marconi red peppers. We started from seed. I had trouble with them because I had trouble getting them germinated, and then they struggled once I put them out, but they have now taken off. And as you can see, I have got peppers everywhere on those big long red ones. They're a sweet pepper. They said they're real good for roasting, which they are. I've picked them and thrown them on the grill when I'm grilling burgers or steaks, and they just come out just beautiful. I picked a few green and just eaten them raw here in the garden, and they've got excellent flavor. I've eaten them raw when they're red, and they have excellent flavor. I think my wife's getting ready to make some they're called cowboy caviar, which has bell peppers in it, and I think I told her she ought to cut up some of these and put in there just for some more color and some different flavor. I planted 5 different varieties of bell peppers, and I'm not going to be able to remember them all, but I'll try. There was Emerald Giant, there was I'm forgetting my tire tags. Keystone, I think we had Keystone variety from 2 different sources, and I can't think of the rest of them right now, but I may have planted too many in the tubs. I think I've got 4 in each tub, and we've had a lot that just grew up and they turned red when they were really small, and you know, even the ones that said they were giant, but here of late they're starting to get bigger. But we've had a lot that did something to that effect. They're just a little pudgy, have good flavor and taste good, they're just not very big. I don't think we've got any big enough to do stuffed tomato or peppers, which we like to do once or twice a season, but we haven't had any that's big enough to do that out of the garden. So I probably need to go down a little bit on how many. There's those 4 tubs plus the stock tank, which is a carryover. It's not a wicking tub, it's a hugelkultur, in that at the bottom probably 2/3 is old wood, and they have done really well. They also made small fruits, but they're starting to make a little bit bigger ones, but they're also making small, kind of deformed looking ones. The hugelkultur is pretty good. You got to water it a little more often, but they seem to do really well in it. I've got some squash that I did in some here. I'll show you here in a little bit. Then behind them is our tomatoes, which we did a video on them called Tomato Alley. You can check that out, where I went into detail on each variety. I kind of went a little crazy ordering seeds and got all different varieties, trying to find something different than I had ever grazed before. But I think next year I'm going to go back to some old standards. So I think like Jet Star, Jet Setter, Celebrity. Even though we had some that were beefsteak and slicer varieties, we never really got any that even made really big good slicers. They were all just kind of like a big cherry or a salad, though right now they're really setting on. This one right here in front of me is an Amish red, make kind of a oval shape. They got really good flavor and kind of meaty. They might be a paste, more of a paste tomato. They're not the Amish paste, but they're an Amish red. But as you can see, they grew. There's one there that's taller than I am. I mean, yes, it's in a tub, but it's probably 6 feet tall when you take the tub off of it. And I mean, these cages are all 5 foot tall. So, you know, it's going, you know, they've grown really well, but now they're really starting to sit on the fruit, which for us, with the heat we have around here, that's not unusual to have a spell in the middle of the summer where we don't get much fruit. But when we get towards this time, when we get the cooler evenings and whatnot, we start really getting them to lay on the fruit, and they are. So they may be coming around. This tub right here had a sunflower. We don't know how the sunflower got in it, but it's got a beautiful sunflower in it. And we've got chives in there, and they've done really, they struggled for a while, but they're doing very well now. And in our Tomato Alley video, you'll see that in each one of our tubs with tomatoes, we put a basil plant and a zinnia plant, because those are both supposed to be really good companion plants for the tomatoes. The basil, and I don't know if that was because of the soil mix or what, but the basil really did good. As you can see, it's done excellent, and we may have to reconsider how we do that next year, because but it did do good. We had fresh basil. Oh, here's one that's done. I think I had rainbow shard in that one. And then moving on along here, I did a row of 8 tubs right here and put a trellis up. And I had peas in here in the spring. Got them in late. It was about 3 weeks later than I should have been. We got a few handfuls of peas off of it, but we either got them in too late or the soil mixture, because they just flat burned up. They didn't, and we didn't even get enough for a whole meal. We just got enough for snacking on. But my wife came back in and planted some flowers. And yes, yes, when you have tubs, you can still have weeds, and if you don't take care of them, they do grow. We've been watering the flowers, so those are growing well, but those we haven't watered and they're still growing. This is the box I was talking about, and I've been throwing organic matter and different things to fill the bottom up so it doesn't take as much soil. And it's, as you can see, still incomplete. Hopefully by next year it'll be finished. And again, I never got to finish about 6 tubs, so I've got to work with that. So this was another row that I did with a trellis, 8 tubs, and I put pole beans in this, and the only one that we ever got any off of was this one here, the Chinese long. Even though the vine looks like terrible, it put on a bunch and then it quit, and then it kind of came back again and put on some more later. But as you can see, they've not done well, and we've kind of let them go, and the weeds are kind of moved in on them. So this one I did yet another trellis and did cucumbers right here on the end, which, as you can tell, has done quite well. Or some call them cucamelons, some call them Mexican gherkins, but it's done very well, and you can see I've got fruit on them. Still trying to decide how do you know when they're ready to pick. I've picked a few, and first time I've grown them, so I don't know if anybody knows. Just tell in the comments. They're pretty tart. I don't know if they're supposed to be or not, but they taste good. As you can see right down in there, we got a whole bunch. Probably can't see them, but sorry about the camera. I'm out of practice, but it has grown well, and I don't know if the extra nitrogen in the soil did it real good, but it was slow, but I've read that they are slow. And then the rest of this was all cucumbers, which is on all different varieties. I do know I had the lemon, the small lemon ones. We did get some of those, which I think they're up here. I had some Boston picklers, some Nashland picklers, some Chicago picklers, some salt and pepper. And they did really well, but they're about done. We're still getting these as the salt and peppers. These actually should have been picked a couple days ago. They're supposed to be more white, but even if the yellow ones, they got good flavor. They don't get bitter. So there's that. And here was, it's hard to see my screen. Here is my hydroponics, which like I said, it's starting to come to the end, but we have gotten several cucumbers, good cucumbers off of it. I went with a trellis going up this year instead of just letting it drape over the sides, which some did drape over the sides. I had trouble getting them started in here, and I ended up with the divas on one side and something I thinned out of one of my other tubs, and I can't tell you which. It made some bigger than a pickler, so I'm not sure if it was a pickler or what it was, but it made good. We got a good return. I think I will try that again next year. I've not given up on it yet, and we did have some success, and it may have been the year. So it did look a lot better than that, a couple of weeks ago, but I think it's, like I said, we're almost to the end of August, so we're getting to the end of our gardening season. I had about 6 or 7 tubs here that I planted some fall bush beans in, and hey, we were starting to get a few, but we've kind of let the weeds go. They didn't germinate that well, but I do see we're getting some beans and some setting on, so maybe we need to find the time and do a little work on them. And that is a weed, and around here we call it pigweed. It is actually a part of the amaranth family, and you can pull the leaves off and eat them when the plant's younger. This one's already going to seed, and on the amaranth you can harvest the grain from it, and that is a grain that people use similar to quinoa, and that is what grows wild around here. And I do mean it grows wild, and it'll take over fields if they let it, but it is an edible plant. And next door to it is some chives that was in my wife's flower garden up front, and they weren't doing well up there, so she moved them back here, and they about died, but they did come back. But look right there. There is one. You can see it. He's kind of, let me turn here a little bit. There's one, and there's two butterflies. So that's why we like to have flowers, because they bring in the pollinators. And okay, camera went off. I don't know why, but we're back. This was on deck. A variety of sweet corn developed to grow in containers, and I did 4 tubs of them, about 9 in each one, and we did get corn off it. I think we got about a dozen ears. They were small ears of 5 to 6 inches, but they had some really good flavor. But like I said, I've got melons planted in there. I probably should go in there and take out the corn, cut them off. But I do have, that is one of the petite griots melons growing there. And I did see, I have a watermelon set on down here. And I did see, I've got some cantaloupes set on, but they don't look too good. Like I said, I probably just need to get in here and cut the corn out, and so they can have more water and more sunlight. So anyway, that's that. Coming back around here, these have done extraordinarily well. This is a Haifa's finest squash, or not squash, zucchini. We got those from, I forget where we got them. Fruition Seeds is where we got them. There's a story behind him that I talked about in one of our seed videos, so if you want to go back and check that out. Then here is an heirloom crookneck squash, which they have been putting on, and we haven't been picking that many of, and they're getting away from us. This here is one of the Haifa's finest. It's not a dark green one. It's more of a speckled green one. That one's too big. Take it over, feed it to the neighbor's chickens. And these crooknecks have been really good. And then this is one called Saffron. It's a summer squash. It is also a yellow squash. There's a couple down there got away from me. No, I have not pruned these in a long time. I was pruning them earlier in the year. I have not been pruning them. I need to. They are all 3 in trash cans. What I have set up is hugelkultur, just like I described on that stock tank. And I have not had any trouble with squash beetles this year. So I hope that continues. I'm the only one that really likes the squash, so it doesn't get eaten much, but we got several people that have chickens, and we cut them up and feed them to the chickens, and they appreciate that. So then we got our tomato towers, which we talked about in the tomato alley, which they are also starting to set on more fruit. But there again, I'm getting really small fruit. Excellent flavor. They're kind of a really small. They're not supposed to be. I did try some different varieties, and maybe that's part of it. But I am getting some decent sized ones here. And I can't even tell you the varieties. I've forgotten, and they've gotten grown together so much that I can't remember. I can't tell you which one's which. And the zinnias, we have zinnias in those as well. I can tell you, we have some of the Brad's Atomic, and we're finally getting some of them to ripen. And there's some of the blueberries in there. So, and here was just a random sunflower that grew, and we let it grow. We didn't mow. It's outside of the garden, but we let it grow. It's done. I need to take it out. But yeah, she's not pretty, and we didn't get a whole lot off of it, but what we did was great. We enjoyed it, and we were thankful for it. We want to expand some more. We got ideas. Maybe this off season we can focus on it a little bit more. Get done what we need to get done when we needed to get it done. But like I said, I hate to use that expression, but life gets in the way sometimes. And unfortunately, the garden got pushed to the bottom of the barrel. And didn't get near the attention that it should have, and didn't get watered like it should have, but we have gotten production. So with that, I will leave you with the view of the garden here, standing on the north side of it. Kind of give you, I can't really tell what I'm showing you, but the sun is not, there we go. I'm having trouble seeing my screen, but it looks a little crowded, but it is working because each evening's in its tubs, and the weed mat we put down is done very well, so we can walk through there really good. And it's done very good. Well, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, hit the like button, comment below. If you got any ideas for us, have a good day, and God bless.